Welcome to this demonstration of identifying community racial disparities with data. In this session, we will compare the race and ethnicity representation of the general population to the population served and recorded in the Homeless Management Information System, otherwise known as HMIS. Demographic data for each community's general population was collected from the United States Census Bureau's website. In addition, data on who entered and exited the homeless system was aggregated and prepared from the HMIS for this analysis. This assessment looks at clients who were recorded in the HMIS between October 1st, 2017 and September 30th, 2018. Before we dive into our first community, let's get some context to what we're about to see. In New York 520 Franklin Exits Housing Coalition COC, there are 8 HMIS participating agencies in the COC during the report period, and each agency only enters data for one program. The graph on the screen shows that between all 8 agencies, there are fewer than 300 adult clients in the HMIS data for the report period. That is fewer than 1 client per day. If we want data to be actionable, then we need to have enough data and enough quality data. Without a combination of quality and quantity, we will miss opportunities to improve how we serve the community. This is New York 520 Franklin Exits Housing Coalition COC. This community has a total population of 86,907 residents, and the HMIS data in the report period has 255 adults and households. In this community, white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino people comprise 86% of the population and make up 89% of those served in a homeless system. In other words, 227 of the 255 clients in the HMIS were white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino within the report period. This relationship is contrasted where Black or African American people make up 2% of those served in the homeless system, while representing 5% of the community's population. The data shows that there are no more than 6 Black or African American clients in the HMIS. And with such a small sample size, it is difficult to determine if this community is over or underrepresented in the homeless system. The community should continue to monitor this over multiple years to find patterns in the data that may be insightful. So lastly, I want to just give you perspective with the total counts and percentages of all the adults and head of households in the report period for New York 520. You can see on the left column is the demographic group. The middle column is the count of clients, adults and head of households, and then you see the percentages. And what you can see obviously is there is no group that is larger than 10 except white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino. So it's almost impossible for us to determine if there are any patterns of racial disparity when each person has so much significance for their group. This is New York 601 Poughkeepsie Dutchess County COC. This community has a total population of 294,218 residents, and the HMIS data in the report period has 1,981 adults and households. This data visualization shows that white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino head of households and adults make up 44% of those served in a homeless system, whereas Black or African American head of households and adults make up 45% of those served. For context, 71% of the population are white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino, and 12% of the population are Black or African American. Therefore, we can see a significant overrepresentation of Black or African American head of households and adults. In fact, their representation in the system is 3.8 times higher than their representation in the community. This divergence of those served in the homeless system and the population is an indicator of racial disparities occurring in the community. This is New York 507 Homeless Services Planning Board. This community has a total population of 155,299 residents, and the HMIS data in the report period has 2,170 adults and households. According to the HMIS data, Black or African American head of households and adults make up 49% of those served in a homeless system, whereas white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino head of households and adults make up 36% of those served in the homeless system. This is contrasted by the makeup of the community, where according to the census, 73% of the population are white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino, and 13% of the population are Black or African American. Therefore, the percentage of Black or African American head of households and adults represented in the homeless system is 3.8 times higher than their proportion of the population. This divergence of those served in the homeless system and the population is an indicator of racial disparities occurring in the community. Regardless of your community, there are institutionalized factors at play that cause communities of color to be extremely overrepresented in the homeless system. As the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense, and communities need to address these barriers and biased institutions proactively rather than reactively. Communities need to bring together all stakeholders to develop a long-term plan to overhaul civic institutions and processes that disproportionately harm communities of color.